Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at noon.
We start with new information today on the murder in a North Fargo apartment. Police say they now have the suspect in jail. Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Jordan Schreier. Police say this guy on your screen right here, 43-year-old Daryl Peterson, is now in jail for murder. He was arrested yesterday and booked into jail. The assault happened yesterday morning at a North Fargo apartment building along 11th Street. Police say they were called to the scene when someone heard the victim yelling for help. When authorities arrived, they found 64-year-old Dwayne Darling bleeding from the head. He was taken to the hospital where he later died. That same day, police arrested Peterson. At this time, authorities say the two knew each other and this was not a random crime. Stay with us here at Valley News Live as we continue to learn new information. New at noon, medical examiners are trying to figure out how a man died while in jail in Polk County. The jail says it arrested 61-year-old Larry Munson from Climax yesterday for suspicion of DUI. This is the most recent photo of Munson, but not from his arrest yesterday. He was at the jail in Crookston when he had a medical emergency. An ambulance was called in and he was then taken to the hospital where he died. His body is now in Grand Forks undergoing an autopsy. Also new at noon, authorities in northern North Dakota are searching for a missing Fort Totten man. 34-year-old John Lawrence was last seen this past Friday. He's about 6'1", 250 pounds with brown-black eyes and shoulder-length black hair. He was last seen wearing a black jacket and blue and black plaid pajama pants. He drives a burgundy Dodge Dakota with plates 620CTC. We have more information about him on our website, and if you know anything about where he could be, call police. Taking that live look outside, it is kind of unbelievable where our temperatures are at for some folks right now, considering we were in the deep freeze not very long ago. For what we can expect in the rest of our forecast, let's check in with meteorologist Lisa Green.
It also depends on where you are in the valley. We've all warmed up, but some of us a lot more than others. Out to the west, you can see that we've got some reports of 40 degrees or more in some spots. In Devil's Lake, we're looking at 40 degrees, 41 in Grand Forks, 42 in Jamestown. So the warmer air really punching in to that side of the valley. Fargo's at 30. That's a nice improvement too, just not quite as warm as our neighbors to the north and west. And then over to the east, we're into the mid-20s. It's 25 degrees in Fosston, Park Rapids, and Bemidji at 24 degrees. Wind speeds are stronger out west. We're getting that warmer air moving in a lot sooner there. And we're seeing those gusts getting into the mid-20s right now, mainly out of the west or southwest. But you can see that wind direction already starting to shift in Langdon. Now, we did have some clouds move in this morning, so it's been a little bit more on the cloudy side, but you can see we do have some clearing going on in Fargo, Moorhead, and in other places in eastern North Dakota. So more sunshine returning for this afternoon there with cloud cover to the east. So looking at temperatures continuing to rise. We'll get above the freezing mark in Fargo with a high of 35, and really depends on where you are. Some places a lot warmer, some a little bit cooler today. We'll let you know if this warming trend will continue coming up in just a few minutes.
All right. Thank you very much, Lisa. At least 6 people are hurt in a shooting at a Southern California high school. Emergency responders rushed to Saugus High School in Santa Clarita. That's about 40 miles north of Los Angeles. The extent of the victim's injuries are unknown at this time. Investigators say a gunman opened fire inside that school this morning and then fled. And at this point, this is where it starts to get tricky. Some sources are saying that the shooting suspect tried to take his own life, while the sheriff for Los Angeles County just recently tweeted that the suspect is now in custody and being treated at a local hospital. We will have more on this throughout the day. You can just head to valleynewslive.com. In our schemes and ripoffs this afternoon, the Cass County Sheriff's Office says that phone scammers are at it again. This time, they're using a number spoofing the Sheriff's Office main line, making the call seem more legit. The scammer then told the person that they were from the Social Security Administration and that they had an active warrant. At this point, the Sheriff's Office is not aware of anyone falling for this particular scam. Police are trying to figure out why a car jumped a curb this morning and smashed into a power pole and then a tree. The accident pulled down the power lines in the 900 block of South University Drive around 1 in Fargo. Firefighters tell Valley News Live that it took about 10 minutes to get two people out of that car. The victims were talking with first responders, but there is no word on the extent of their injuries. Xcel Energy was called out to work on the power lines, but no one in the neighborhood lost power because of that crash. Investigators are looking into what happened before a grain dryer went up in flames this morning. Crews got the call around 1:45 to Yulin, which is about 50 miles northeast of Moorhead. There is no word on how much damage it caused. The worst flooding in Venice in more than 50 years has prompted calls to better protect that historic city from rising sea levels as officials calculate hundreds of millions of dollars in damage. Aaron McLaughlin has more from Venice.
This morning, the floating city once again partially drowned. Postcard perfect Venice flooded for a fourth day. Not as violent as earlier in the week when gusts of wind met near record water, inflicting untold damage. The city's been declared a state of emergency. Now, between high tides, Venetians struggle to rebuild. Shop owner Valencia Colombo was out of town when this swept through her shop, destroying everything.
We're helpless against this. What are we going to do? What can we do? We're going to move everything out as soon as we can and start all over again.
The beating heart of this ancient city flooded only about half a dozen times in 1,200 years. Priceless mosaics submerged in muddy water, including the basilica's crypt. Today, the water's mostly gone, but fears of damage remain. Are you worried about the long-term impact?
The long term, that is not a single event, but the number of events, the salt inside the bricks remains and breaks the bricks.
The city's mayor blames climate change. In recent years, these extreme high tides have become more frequent and unforgiving. But Italians also rail against greed and corruption. And that's because a billion-dollar flood prevention system still not finished, suffering delays and allegations of graft since 2003.
Well, the Italian prime minister says that project's 90% complete and vows to finish it as soon as possible. Small comfort to the locals. The next exceptional high tide is in tomorrow's forecast. Aaron McLaughlin, NBC News, Venice, Italy.
This is not only the worst flood in 50 years for the floating city, but also their second biggest flood ever on record. In our consumer alert this afternoon, Walmart is dishing out more of its Black Friday deals. The retailer unveiling its 37-page holiday sale ad at walmart.com. Sure to grab attention, a $249 iPad and a $129 Apple Watch. As in recent years, Walmart's in-store Black Friday sales actually start at 6 in the evening, local time on Thanksgiving. But online deals will start even earlier at 10 p.m. the night before Thanksgiving.